Now I want to focus on a small city in northeast Georgia, the city of Clayton. It's home to about 2,000 people located in Rabun County. And small towns like that may have a harder time dealing with the financial strain of storms like this one from this past weekend than others. I want to welcome to the show Trudy Crunkleton, the city manager there for Clayton. Trudy, good morning to you, and thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
It was great to have you. First of all, how are you doing after the storm? Any kind of major damage we need to know about?
No, we're actually recuperating pretty well. We are within the county. We're down to probably less than 1,500 customers without power. But we had the severe cold snap over the last couple of days, which, you unpack that with no power. A lot of folks are elderly in our community. A lot of people don't have backup heat, gas heat or anything like that. So it's been a tough couple of days.
Yeah, we always knew the northeastern part of the state, Rabun County area, Clayton, was going to be hit probably harder than other areas when it came to the storm. What did that mean for prep work for you all? What did you have to spend money on as a city to get ready for the storm?
Well, we sure appreciate everybody giving us the heads up and having plenty of time to plan. We had to go out days ahead and go ahead and put down product on the roads. So we had to spend money for salt, gravel, things like that, that's an extra expense in our budget that we don't always, we try to spread it out over the year. But when you have to do so much over one single weekend, it really hurts your budget. It takes a real hit. And then you take into that the overtime of your staff. They've got to spend all the time prepping. And then when the storm actually hits, they're here full time. And now they've got all the cleanup ahead of them.
Yeah, tell me about the strain on your budget that just the cleanup does.
So just, our budget, we budget, I think our total budget, and we're a small city, so this may not sound like much to a lot of people, but we had an overtime budget of $6,000 for the entire year. Mm-hmm. We're going to eat into that heavily just over this weekend, and we're not even through winter yet. And that's just the labor costs. We all, we have the salt and the things like that. We're still in winter. We've now got to restock everything we spend, and we probably spent probably $4,000 or $5,000 this weekend just alone on product.
So can you put a percentage for me on how big of a chunk this took out of the total budget for the city?
Just for our public works department, that probably hit us at about, 10 to 15%. So we're looking at going into the next few months now that we're on, the fiscal year will end in June. So we're looking at what we'll have to do through the end of the year, what we'll have to cut back on. Maybe some projects we had for the spring we may not be able to do because of the hit we took now.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. What kind of recourse do you have at this point? Is there any appeal you can make to the state or to the federal government for some assistance here, or are you going to have to be cutting programs?
Well, we certainly hope that we will be able to get some assistance from the state. If GMA, even would be great, FEMA. If we're not able to, and we have to assume we're not going to get anything, so we have to go through the rest of the year, assuming we're not. Sometimes those programs take a long time to get that reimbursement, so we have to, it may be months before we get anything back, if we get anything back at all. There are thresholds you have to meet in order to be eligible for those programs. You have to meet a money threshold of how much you spent before they'll even consider you. I would think with the impact as widespread as this is, that probably won't be a problem. But we still have to face that. And like I said, we have to plan and go forward as if we're not getting anything back. We have things to look at, like we have guardrails to replace. We have to restock all of our equipment. And like I said, we're not even through. We could have another event. They're calling for, more weather this weekend that could impact us again.
I was wondering if you saw the forecast for this weekend. Right
now,
unfortunately, about a 20% chance of snow for us here in the metro area. Might be higher for you folks there in the Northeast. It all depends on what this coastal low does. And we should have a better idea tomorrow and certainly by Friday whether we are going to see a meaningful snow event Saturday. What is it going to do to your budget having the potential for two big events back to back?
It's going to take a hit, and it takes a strain on us physically. With our staff, we're a small city and a small staff. So when you're asking your folks to get out there and work all those hours with very little rest, that's tough. But just like I said, the overtime budget, that's a real hit. And it's hard to come up with those funds from somewhere else. Like I said, we're small, so it's really hard to. We do have reserves, and we want to keep those, and they are for these emergencies. But then we have a really hard time of how do we replenish those reserves. So that's like we're looking. This can impact us down the road, into next year's budget and beyond.
Fair to say you would go in the red, though, before you cut back on preparing for a winter storm?
Oh, yes, we have no option but to prepare. Our citizens, we've got to keep roads open. Emergency vehicles have got to be able to get to residents. So we don't have an option. We are the county seat, and, everybody comes to Clayton for, their groceries, for their doctors, for, the pharmacies and everything like that. So we don't have an option but to keep our roads open.
Trudy, I want to thank you for your transparency this morning. This is an issue that often doesn't get talked about. Is there anything else you want people across Georgia to know about the situation you face?
I think just bringing awareness to the fact that sometimes the larger cities and places get all the, the attention, and sometimes a small place like us is kind of overlooked. I know a lot of people look at Clayton, we're a high tourist area, but as far as our city, we're very small and in size of our residents and things like that, and we work on a very fixed budget. So we don't have those resources, and something like this that's completely out of our control can really hurt us.
All right, Trudy, thank you so much for your time this morning. We're wishing you good luck this weekend. We all hope we're going to stay dry. We're not going to stay warm. I can tell you at the very least we're going to be bundled up together.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.